Christmas has arrived at Crummy HQ, and today we're talking all about the top Christmas gifts for your whiskey loving friends. Hello and welcome back to the channel, and yes, this December I'm going to be trying to help you buy those perfect gifts for your whiskey and beer loving friends and family. This video is a top 10 breakdown of whiskey related gifts I think most whiskey lovers will appreciate. Of course, everyone's different and not everyone out there will like everything on the list, but hopefully there'll be something in here for everyone to enjoy. And number 10, the last one, I personally think is a pretty special and thoughtful gift, so stay tuned for that one. Let's get straight into it then with number 1, and unfortunately it is the obvious one, but if you know what whiskey this person in your life likes, then by all means buy them a bottle. It's a cop-out a little bit, yes, but hear me out here. If someone bought me a bottle of a whiskey that I just enjoy as an everyday dram, I'm thinking up here something like the Eagle Rare. We flip over to this side, the Brook Laddie, Classic Laddie, right there in the turquoise bottle. I would be very, very appreciative. Yes, I've got all this other stuff, but it doesn't really matter because those are two that just forever hold a special place for me. And well, I'm not going to say I could never have too much, but I certainly wouldn't begrudge another bottle or two for sure. In addition to that though, you can start to level this game up a little bit. If you know, for example, that let's say your significant other, your friend, your spouse, whoever you're buying for likes a particular brand and they normally drink, let's say for argument's sake, something from Glenlivet. Say they normally drink the Founder's Reserve or the 10-year. Well, you could bunch it up to their 12 or 15. If they like something from a brand, they're quite likely to like the next level up. So they might not want to treat themselves to a 12, 15, 18-year from that brand they normally drink, but well, as I say, if they like stuff from that brand, it's a pretty safe bet they're going to like the older expressions. I will, though, give you a bit of a warning along with that. This is something that I've been hit by, well, quite a lot. A lot of people knew, in my younger years, I was a big fan of the original Jack Daniels. Now you can see this bottle is dusty and hasn't been opened because I don't really drink it anymore anyway. As a result of me liking Jack Daniels in my younger years, quite often people would buy me the next step up, which they believe to be Gentleman Jack, because it is just more expensive. But it's not really the same thing, because Gentleman Jack is this that's further filtered, it's further refined, and it's, well, further had the flavour taken out of it, if I'm entirely honest. So there are bits to be made. Given that this is something that happens particularly with Jack Daniels, if you have a Jack Daniels lover in your life and you want to buy them the next step up, go straight for the single barrel. Yes, it's a little bit more than the Gentleman Jack, but the Gentleman, well, some people like it, but I've never met anyone who's properly mad on it, let's put it that way. And it's also worth noting that if you don't know what sort of whiskey this person in your life likes, but you want to buy them a bottle anyway, get subscribed, because throughout December I'm going to be putting out videos telling you both how to work out what whiskey to buy them, and even in any case, just individual bottles that I think most people would appreciate. So yeah, as I say, get ready for those. On then to number 2 in this list. If you don't know what whiskey that special person in your life actually likes, but they definitely like whiskey, consider buying them a whiskey subscription. These come in all shapes and sizes, from a few things throughout the year through to monthly, through to full bottles and so on. I personally subscribe to something called Whiskey Me. That is what this parcel is from, and I'll leave a link to that and all other products talked about in the description of this video. Some of them will be affiliate links. It doesn't make it any more expensive for you, but I might get a little kickback. I just have to say it because they want me to say it. Anyway, this is from Whiskey Me. This is what I got this month, and well, in here every month I get 2 drams. You get nice little info cards about each, which we got here. We've got one from Glenmorangie, their Oloroso Matured Warehouse one at 60% ABV. That is absolutely wild. And one from Redwood Empire, the Lost Mark, which is of course in America, aged between 3 and 14 years apparently. Loads of info about each of the whiskies you get front and back on those cards, and you get a 6 centilitre sample. So that's the Glenmorangie and then the Redwood Empire there. You don't have to get two. You can have just international, which is obviously where the US one has come from, or just Scotch, or collective. I'll go for a collective because I like to try lots of new and interesting things to see what to bring you guys on the channel. But I think it's not a bargain, but you're not going to find many chances to try such an array of different whiskies at one, I'm not going to say one time, but through one service anyway. In at number 3, we have glassware. I'll be honest, I get very excited by glassware. I don't know why, but just having the opportunity to drink and try stuff that I know in a slightly different format is appealing. The 4 glasses you see in the middle here that all look the same are all the same. These are called Glencairn glasses, and I think it's pretty much globally recognised that they are pretty much the best whiskey tasting glasses out there. These are for your dedicated straight pour or just straight pour with a tiny bit of water sippers who are really getting the most and nerding out over their whiskey. I, despite having quite a lot of these, would never begrudge anyone from buying me any more. Having more of the same glasses so you can, invite more people around, have more people try multiple things, not having to use the same glass more than once because it affects the taste for different drams, things like that. By not using the glass more than once, I mean in a session. You can wash it and use it again. These are not throwaways, but you get the idea. They also do these in different colours. The purpose of that is for blind tasting, so you can't really see what it is that you are tasting. So if the person in your life likes doing whiskey testing, then that is also another great shout. If that's not for them, well, this Maker's Mark glass is a particular favourite of mine, but it's not this glass in particular I think you should buy. It's just something nice, big, you can fit a massive ice cube in there. That's something we'll talk about a bit later on. And it's just a nice, it feels like an event when I use this glass. It's quite heavy, it's big enough, and it's just, yeah, I don't know, I just really, really like it. And if that's not exciting enough for you, let me just move the Glencairns out of the way. This glass is a Boona Harbin branded glass, and it was sat upside down for a reason, because this is a self-leveling whiskey glass that just kind of rolls around and it never quite tips over, and it feels like I'm going to throw it across the room when I do this, but honestly it's a very interesting thing to drink out of. If I put it on a harder surface, you can probably get a better idea. But yeah, in any event, there is definitely some fun glassware out there. In at number 4, we have whiskey books or whiskey literature. This is one of those that I picked because it's genuinely something I would appreciate getting for a Christmas gift. And to be honest, I don't really have much in the way of props. This is actually a magazine that they give you out free when you buy from the whiskey shop, the big one that's on most high streets. You can buy this on its own. It retails at, I think it's $4.95, but yeah, if you spend enough money you get one of these anyway. I do enjoy just flicking through these magazines because there's just heaps of information about new releases and history and special tests, and they're just nice things. They're really plush, really high quality. Of course, in addition to magazines, there are loads of proper published books available on the subject of whiskey. I've been scouring the internet, and my picks, really from Amazon at least, are as follows. There's the Malt Whiskey Yearbook 2025 for the latest and greatest information, a whiskey tasting course which takes you through the process of tasting whiskey and understanding how to identify those flavours, and finally a classic, the Malt Whiskey Comparison by Michael Jackson. No, not that Michael Jackson. In at number 5, we have what I'm going to call travel companions. Now, a lot of this stuff is very easily available in your local supermarket, but let's be honest, a lot of the time the quality isn't really there. What I really mean by travel companions is stuff to take whiskey away with you, small volume. That can be hip flasks. These two are pretty generic and you can get pretty cheaply. I did have a quick look, and there is one from Stanley, as in the Stanley knife maker, available on Amazon right now that I thought was particularly good looking, because let's be honest, a lot of them are a bit oldie worldy and fusty, and if that's not your sort of thing, you might not appreciate it, but that Stanley one looks absolutely beautiful. On the flip side, you could go down the route of buying actual miniatures of whiskey, and that's fine, but a lot of the whiskey that comes in miniatures is mass-produced stuff that most people aren't really fussed about. You can, if you know what you're doing, go on to people like Master of Malt and order bespoke little taster sets, but again, you need to know what whiskey you're buying at that point, so that's a little bit tricky. But what I would recommend instead is not buying full containers, but buying empty ones. Yes, believe it or not, you can very easily go and buy loads of bottles of miniatures that are just empty bottles. Often they come with funnels and stuff like that to help you fill them. That is a necessity. Don't buy someone loads of mini bottles without a funnel because, well, that would get tricky. But what that allows people to do is firstly take samples of their favourite bits of their collection away on holiday with them, for example, or even better than that, allows them to produce samples to trade and swap with other people with other interesting bottles. If you're, I want to keep wanting to say other half, but if the person in your life interested in whiskey likes to get involved with the whiskey community, doing little trades is probably something they'd be quite interested in, and that is a great way to help them do it. Now, number 6 on the list is admittedly a bit niche and certainly not for everyone, and I have in general a complaint to make about this type of gift, but this one is so specific but is likely to appeal to a large number of people, I just had to include it. Is the whiskey fan in your life also a Star Wars fan? If yes, keep listening. Whilst trawling the internet for good ideas for this video, I came across this. That's right, that is a decanter and 2 whiskey glasses that are shaped like stormtrooper helmets. Now look, as I said, it's niche, and in general, things like this I would consider tacked. It's just not very classy, it's a bit quick gimmicky, the quality is probably not great, but on the flip side, for the enthusiast of both markets, I think that's a pretty hard one not to go for. Do not buy this if you just think they're a casual fan of one thing or another, because they probably won't appreciate it. But if they are proper whiskey nerds, die-hard Star Wars fans, then yeah, I think this one is a good shout. Link for this one most definitely in the description. Number 7 is one I also don't have a prop for, but is one that I also would quite like to receive, and that is a clear ice cube tray maker. I know what you're thinking, you're going, what on earth is he talking about? Look, when you make ice cubes in normal ice cube trays, you'll notice they're cloudy, and then when you go out to your bougie cocktail bars, the ice they put in the glass is completely translucent. You can see straight through it. The reason for that is because basically they go above and beyond to make glass that's super pure, and well, the ice cubes in your freezer aren't. It's not because they're using better water, although that can be part of it. What typically happens when water freezes is that the bad bits float to the bottom as it gradually gets colder and colder. In a small ice cube you can't really tell because they're not big enough, but make a bigger one, you'll see one bit's a bit clearer than the other. But now there are thankfully special tools out there to enable us to do this. If this whiskey drinker in your life just sits there and drinks neat whiskey only, probably don't bother. But if they're a bourbon fan especially and like to drink it all year round, even I, as a slight snob, do enjoy a bourbon on a massive ice cube when the summer really gets going. Numbers 8 and 9 are both things to help you get out of the house. In at number 8, we have distillery tours. Now, if you are anywhere but Scotland, your knee-jerk reaction might be, really? But yeah, you don't have to go to Scotland. There are distilleries almost everywhere, certainly in the UK, certainly in the US, and getting ever more popular worldwide. England in particular, in terms of the UK, will be the one where most people go, because we know Scotch is good, we know Irish is good, and let's be honest, Wales have been doing it pretty decently now for a while as well. But English whiskey is on the rise. I'm not going to say it's brilliant because I don't know, I've not had much of it or enough of it to really tell you that, but regardless of how good the whiskey is, going to watch how it's made is pretty universal. There are variances between all distilleries, but it's pretty universal and definitely an interesting day out. If you take a look at this map here, I don't think anyone in the country, at least in terms of England, is very far away from a distillery indeed. So just search for distilleries near me or distillery tours. You can find this list online and yeah, go get some tickets. And if that doesn't tickle your fancy, what about tickets to a whiskey tasting evening? I thought, you know what, it's a great idea, but I bet there's not that many of them out there because I've not really heard of many. Well, I'd be wrong. I slung whiskey tasting events into Google and lo and behold, in Nottingham alone, there was 5 in the next month and a half. Like, it really does happen. You've got the W Club from the Whiskey Shop. It's a membership thing, but it's not particularly expensive, especially if you buy it around Black Friday, which incidentally is probably when this video comes out, or just a couple of days later. So hopefully those offers are still on. And yeah, if you sign up to that, you get invited to whiskey tasting sessions at that's a hard thing to say quickly. Whiskey tasting sessions at whiskey shop premises like once they're closed, like it's a private events thing. There's plenty more at local bars, and what's particularly good about buying something like that for Christmas is that at the end of January is Burns Night, so the amount of Scotch whisky tasting sessions available to buy right now is quite a lot more than it is for the rest of the year. And then at number 10, the gift that I said I thought was the most considered and thoughtful on this entire list. You're looking at me now going, Tom, that's just a shaker and some bottles in front of you, and you'd be right. What I'm really proposing here is that you get the person in your life that cares about whiskey everything they need to make their favourite whiskey cocktail. The reasons are this. Let's go with an old-fashioned, let's say, because an old-fashioned, I think, almost every whiskey lover out there genuinely enjoys. A whiskey old-fashioned really is just whiskey, some sweet element, which we'll talk about more in a second, and some bitters and a fruity element, normally orange. And it is fantastic. It's always fantastic. You can make this gift as complex or as simple as you want. You can go down the route of buying the Angostura bitters and the bottle of whiskey and some sugar cubes and the muddle and the whole cocktail set to make it properly, the ice cube maker to get the nice clear ice cubes and go whole hog, or you can strip it back down a little bit and you can make it so that it's as easy as possible for someone to make an old-fashioned on Christmas Day. You get miniatures of whiskey if your budget's not very big, or half bottles or whatever. Get the bitters. Those bits are important, but in addition to your regular Angostura bitters, you can also buy Angostura orange bitters. I use these two in conjunction with some maple syrup to make a very simple but very tasty old-fashioned, and you don't need any of this stuff. You just get some normal ice and mix it around in the glass, and look, it will give the impression, it's not the impression, you are thinking about them, it's why you're watching this video, but you've thought about the gift, you've gone away and kind of accumulated its components and bought it all together so that they then on Christmas Day or whenever they're opening their gift can suddenly start making an old-fashioned right away. All right, they might need some ice beforehand, but you get the idea. Get all those ingredients together in a little hamper, and I for one would be absolutely thrilled. So those are my top 10 picks for that whiskey lover in your life this Christmas. If anyone watching this has any other ideas, let me know in the comments below and I'll be sure to include them in subsequent kind of help to buy Christmas specials that I'm doing all throughout December. But yes, I hope some of that has helped you, and that really is all I've got to say about it. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you haven't already, subscribe if you would be so kind, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.